Welcome to Dalma Makes and welcome to this upcycling video. For this project I incorporated another one of my hobbies, hand embroidery. This all started with a humble coffee jar, as I think it offers so much potential with those flatter surfaces. I will be keeping the lid as well to use it for a different project, but let's focus on the jar. I of course thoroughly cleaned and degreased the jar, and then I peeled off the label, scraping off the stubborn parts with a blade and removing any sticky residue with some isopropyl alcohol. I knew I wanted to have one special face on this jar, and I am going to make a piece of floral embroidery to adorn it with. I started with some black cloth, and with a white pencil I just sketched in the borders of the area that I can work with, and then also my design. This will change as I actually do the embroidery, but is just a basic reference. To actually do the embroidery, I stretched the fabric on a bamboo hoop and made sure it was drum tight, as well as snipping off excess fabric that was only going to hinder me with the thread snagging on it. I went for a fairly classic design of the big red flower in the middle and green foliage all around. I'm going to use a number of different stitches to fill in the flower. I'm not even sure what this one is called, but it's like a lazy daisy stitch, but you use it to fill in leaves usually, but I think it also makes beautiful petals. I really struggled to film the embroidery itself, as my camera is not strong enough for really good close-up shots. So I'm just going to skip through most of it and give you an overview. I wanted my flower to be two-toned, with a true red and an orangish towards the outside, and on that outside row I used an actual lazy daisy stitch. And to make all those edges really neat, I went in with a blanket stitch with that original red color. For the center of the flower, I first made a spider web stitch with 5 prongs. These are often used for roses, but I think they also make very nice flower centers. And then I added a bunch of French knots in a few different colors, varying between 6 strands and 3 strands, to fill in the center and make it look a little bit more realistic. And this is how my flower came out when it was finished. And then of course I added my foliage with 2 different shades of green. After several hours of work, I took the now embroidered fabric piece off the bamboo hoop, and I decided in which exact orientation it should go on the jar. I trimmed off some excess from the top and bottom, as there was nowhere for the overhang to go, and I proceeded to glue this piece of fabric to the jar. I'm using copious amounts of gel matte medium, sort of saturating the fabric and adding even more to the jar itself, as I want this to really stay. I didn't trim the lateral edges, instead I used them as extra surface to glue to make sure that it will never peel off. At this stage I also tore up a paper towel and I did a little bit of a paper mache technique to cover the rest of the jar's surface. I'm mainly doing this to make the glass more receptive for the next stage and to add a little bit of bulk to balance out the thickness of the black fabric that I added, so there is no stark edge where it ends. I left that to dry overnight. I went through my entire stash of ribbons and laces and found 3 that I thought will work together well to dress up this jar. I'm going to use the larger piece to wrap around and all the ribbons as trims. I returned to gel matte medium to attach these as well. Once again, saturating everything thoroughly and going over for a steady and archival hold. This needed another night to dry, but it's worth it as now all of those fibers are sealed in and won't be as thirsty when I'm applying the paint. The whole idea is to sort of frame and display the hand embroidery piece while keeping the rest of it interesting and textured, but not compete for attention. So I just base coated the entirety of everything else in black acrylic paint. On this first pass, trying my best to get into all of the crevices and textured indentations that all these materials have. Black is matte and has good coverage in one coat, but I think I ended up doing a second coat anyway because I still missed some teeny tiny spots. I think I could even leave it here and still have a nice beautiful piece, but I do want to highlight all that texture that I worked so hard for to glue onto the surface. So I turned to one of my favorite substances, a gold metallic acrylic paint. And using my finger sparingly, I applied it on the entirety of the surface, only omitting the embroidery work itself. To me, it never gets old how all those shapes and intricate designs magically show up when you add a highlight color in this manner. I'm always looking for creative ways to display embroidery pieces besides just framing them, and I think in this I found a nice and useful way to do it. This jar will be able to be used as a container, as a vase, as a pencil holder, and of course it will function as home decor. I've incorporated embroidery before in the lids of boxes, but I'm glad I've tried this, as I think it's a viable thing and I will be repeating it in the future. If you have any inventive and creative methods to display embroidery pieces, please do let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your ideas. I would also really appreciate some feedback. It really helps me. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I upload a new crafty video every week. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a nice day. Bye.